Sometimes life is yikes.
And that's okay. You're not alone. Welcome to Yikesland. And hi, guys. Welcome to Yikesland, our podcast about mental health and depression and all things yikes. I am your host, Chris Fung, and I am here with my co-host.
It's Jelani Hoon.
And we are so happy to be here with you again on this Tuesday. Jelani, why is it a good Tuesday?
Because any Tuesday with you here with us is great. We want to make sure you're with us every Tuesday, making it to every Tuesday from this here forward to the next, because world without you would make it a lesser world. And we want you making it here with us, not just to watch the podcast, but as a community of people here in Yikesland to continue to be here. So thanks for being here.
Yep, we're glad to be back with you guys. Reach out to us on any of our social medias if you have things to say, or sad emojis, or rainbow Yikesland emoji. I guess that's what our unofficial emoji would be.
I guess so.
Like a rainbow and then like a crying face or
logo.
Something. Yeah. But you can find us on Twitter and Facebook. You can email us at yikesland@gmail.com. Or hit up our Instagram at Yikesland_podcast.
Lord.
I will start off today's podcast with the way that we always do, with a little old "How are you?"
Oh my! I was not expecting that question, even though we've done it 20 times already, and this is the 21st time. All right, so episode 21. How is Jelani Hoon doing? So I will say that I'm doing okay, right? Recently I've been feeling a little weird, and I mean, multiple people I've talked to have been feeling the same way, and I don't know if it's just because, like, you know, we all
spring
are kind
has
of
sprung, and it's like,
but I feel like I'm in a haze a little bit, where it's like everything, like my mind feels like, it feels like someone stuffed cotton in my head, and just like everything feels hazy right now. It's like, why does it feel so weird? Like everything doesn't, like, it just doesn't feel, I don't feel clear. I feel like I'm running at like 60-70%, you know, like it just feels odd. I don't know. I don't know if I'm just like not getting well rested, or if I'm not like getting enough self-care. I'm burning myself out a little bit here, but like I feel like no matter what, I'm just like always at just 60%. Like I'm not 100%, you know, Jelani. It's not 100% Jelani.
Is it because it's hard to breathe in here?
It could be, and I'm sorry. That's the thing.
Like, I didn't. It's not your apartment specifically. I encountered this yesterday when I was coming home, and I stopped outside to take a photo of my yard, like a basic person, but it made me happy. And then so I was like outside for an extra minute, and then I came inside, and I was like, I can't breathe in here, because it's like it's just inside air. You know what I mean?
Possibility.
Sometimes it makes it feel hard to breathe.
I feel like recently too, I've been just like opening all the windows, even if it was really cold outside. I'm just like, inside just feels so weird. I feel like so cloudy and hazy, and I need to open up all the windows, and I start like a crazy person with all the windows open, and it's like, I don't know, 40 degrees outside. But I don't know. It feels odd right now, but nothing super negative is happening in my life or anything like that. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't been self-caring myself very well. You know, I've been eating junk food and, you know, lazing about a little bit. Maybe that could contribute to it, who knows. But you know, I've just been being kind of shitty lazy, you know, Jelani. So but
you're still here with us.
But I'm still here, and I'm still working my way through it, and hopefully I'll build myself back up to 100%, because 100% of me is wonderful. How about you? How are you doing?
I had a hard weeks. I don't know. Like, things were not the worst they've ever been, but like external and internal forces combined to like create the perfect storm of me being very distraught. So it's not like I was it's not like I was depressed in that slow way where you're like kind of quietly in bed and quietly can't do anything. I was depressed in that more like, okay, I want to say manic way, but like not necessarily that I've earned the medical use of that term, but just like a very high strung, sharp, acute type of feeling where like it feels like everything's bad, but you're like wailing about it instead of it feels like everything's bad, but you're like calm about it. I know the way I describe things is
No, it was. I understand.
nonsense.
I understand it.
So, it's like where you're thrashing really hard against it because you're like, no, things are going to be better. I'm perfectly functional. And you're like thrashing around. And so you're not that functional, but you're still, it's not like the times that I've had where I just like don't want to move and I like quietly want to die. It's like you're trying to fight the thing off, but it's like a very darkness monster. And you're like, no, F you, monster. I don't know if we have to censor ourselves on this podcast.
I don't think so. We talk about kind of dark
I
stuff
guess we
here.
already
I
have
don't
we already
think
have an
so.
explicit tag, so I don't know why I didn't say that.
I do put an explicit tag on
The
this because
old
I
F
feel
word.
like it's dark topics
Yeah.
anyways, even though we sugarcoat it sometimes. No, I can get that. Like
So,
that's it wasn't a paralyzing like bout with it.
Yeah,
It
like I was
one where-
thrashing the whole time trying to fight it off, but even yesterday because of like yesterday all of the external forces had passed and everything was fine. But like which was just like all of the pretty it was honestly pretty boring like relationship fight, work struggle, etc. like all the stuff that like people struggle with anyway. Like feeling self-doubt, feeling like you look like a potato person.
I get that.
Like all of the stuff that regularly happens to me and other people, but for some reason it just felt very sharp recently. But even like so yesterday coming sort of away from that and things have settled down and they've been fine. But yesterday I was like supposed to go to the gym and I couldn't make myself because I was just like too tired and sad because sort of everything had gone slightly awry. Like I meant to do laundry and I couldn't, and all that stuff I think normally would not feel so bad to me, but coming away from that sort of like I don't even know if it was a depressive period, but like just a very upset period, coming away from that very upset period, then smaller things hurt me more. And I was like, because I didn't get all the stuff done today that I wanted to get done, it's like a lost day and I'm just going to go to bed, which that was definitely a depression move, being like, no, I lose. I'm going back to bed. I'm not going to fight it anymore. So I guess I kind of feel like tired or burnt out from that, like emotionally burnt out, but I'm still here and things are okay. And it's like it's gonna happen, and especially for me, I kind of always expect like depression and or like hurt moods to come back at me. Like so it's nothing unexpected, but you're still like angry when it's happening and you're like, oh, why? Things are going fine.
Yeah, it can happen. Bouts with our depression can pop out of nowhere sometimes, and it's odd. Something we have to deal with. You know, sometimes everything's just going okay, and then it just pops right back up.
Yeah.
You know, so but hopefully everything has gotten slowly better, and hopefully people have been able to reach out. Hopefully my little cutesy little gifts that I was sending you were helping a little bit here.
Yeah.
I couldn't really do nothing. I was like, oh, she seems just very distraught. I'll just send her some cutesy gifts of hey, happiness, sprinkles.
No, I liked that.
So if anything, your support system was there for you. Hopefully,
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it, and I just like at this point in my life, I kind of just try to like weather the storm. Like I know I can't fight off every like sometimes bad stuff is going to happen. Like you're going to have a fight in your relationship, or you get fired, or you have to move, but you really felt at home in that apartment, or just like life stuff that you can't even stop is going to happen to you.
Yeah.
And for me, I know it's really going to like some of that stuff is really going to hit me hard because I sometimes don't have the emotional energy to like stop it from affecting me, but I know I can at the very least weather the storm and get through it, even if during that period I feel pretty low. So I guess that was kind of my like strategy was just like, all right, well, we're gonna stay alive and be like say, save everything you can for fighting later once you get out of this, but like try to stop thrashing around so much as it's happening. But I did instead. I did a lot of thrashing around. But yeah, so I'm feeling better now, but sort of still like emotionally quieted from all the energy I expended. That was a long time explaining my thing. I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. That's what the podcast is for. We want to know how our hosts are feeling. You know, how you're feeling, how I'm feeling, and that's relate to the folks out there as well. So that's the point. We're here to talk. If it was just an hour of us being quiet, we might not get as many hits as we thought.
So that kind of brings us into our topic for this episode, which you mentioned a little bit before, which is talking about self-care.
Yes.
I think a lot of people in our circles have also been having like a little bit of a struggle bus time recently.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it has been popping up.
And so, self-care is something that we've talked about. Bless you.
Sorry.
I wasn't sure if it was a sneeze.
Sure. It was.
Self-care is something that we've talked about a little bit in other episodes, things that we do to care for ourselves, or like our kind of personal care package of like break glass in case of depression. But there's also lots of little self-care stuff that I think is especially important for people who are having mental health struggles, but that everybody deserves. So we thought we would dedicate some time to that this episode.
Yes. The importance of self-care, huh? And I mean, are talking about it. Like that's, we have this podcast here and we try to open up and talk about like everything that's going on with us recently and how we're feeling and everything like that. And I feel like that right there is something that even relates to that as well. And like anything that you can do to help like really get it out and really like try and take care of yourself. Self-care is something that even relates to self-care. Like I think that this podcast here for me especially is something where I kind of look at it as like, oh, this is kind of self-care for me, where I kind of like, I need that moment where like I'll talk about clearly, specifically about how I'm feeling and how things are going and everything like that. I think like this right here is something where I can even like touch on is like, yeah, this is kind of self-care for me at least. But yeah, I think that importance of like keeping everybody and keeping yourself, for folks out there, it's important to not burn yourself out. Like everyone, like Chris, for you example, like one of the things that you love to do is really have the importance of like accomplishing things and like having work constantly, right? But even with that, like doing things like even with me where I'm doing podcast stuff and that like seems like it's, oh, that's a fun thing and everything like that, but eventually I can just get burnt out, and anything you're doing, there's always a point where you can burn yourself out on what you're doing, even if it's like a fun thing like me, or if it's like a thing where it's like regular work, where you're just like, you go to work and you feel like you're accomplishing stuff by like doing that or whatever you're doing. It almost as if like you're really just like piling on something onto your shoulders and you're carrying that, and even if it's, something as simple as just doing a podcast and being on the whole time you're on, but it's one of the things you don't want to do is like overdo it, because overdoing it, it'll burn yourself out. And when you're burnt out, like I kind of guess we're both kind of burnt out a little bit at this moment, or recovering from burnout. Like it feels kind of awful. You just feel drained and you feel like everything is just, ugh, I don't want to do anything. And on top of like that, having that on top of your depression, that can be a bad cocktail. That can be a bad mix of like when you let those two things like really settle with each other, that can drag you down pretty far, and that can even make you hit a wall of just like, oh, depression wall, and it's gonna stop you in your tracks and it's gonna stun you out. So self-care is something it's very important. I think I like to think of like every once in a while, a day, if you can, or a little bit of time of just like having that to yourself to do something that's like not something that's going to stress you out, something that's like putting anything on your shoulders. It's almost like just kind of, I don't want to put it as in like, oh, something that makes you happy or something that's like like what's the word I'm looking for, or like something that you're fun or anything like that. I won't put it as that, but like something like take a long hot shower, or doing something like that, where something like as simple as like doing that, that can be like rejuvenating almost,
Yeah,
if you
I
will.
mean, I think self care, that's something that a lot of like it's a relatively new term in terms of its like how much it has permeated our culture right now, and so people associated with millennials and like some cynical boomers associate it with being lazy and stuff like that. But the concept of self care has obviously existed forever. And I think that it is actually a good thing and a strength that so many people are
Yeah.
talking about it nowadays. When we were talking about, a lot of people in our circles have been having a hard time recently. A lot of them have specifically used the term self care. So I think it's good that we have a term for these things. But that being said, I think self care looks different for everybody. And so it's important to be able to figure out what things are self care for you,
Yeah, so true.
so that you can deploy them when you need, and some of those things might take more time or less time. So then if you only have like 30 minutes or something, you can kind of fit some smaller stuff in.
Yeah, simple things that are, like I said, the shower. Like for some people who are in a depressive state like us, a shower is like an amazing
Yeah.
accomplishment sometimes, and that's something that like, oh, usually we're just too far left to our own devices and we're just not accomplishing
Yeah.
simple things like that. Or, some people who, not me, for me specifically, I like to sleep. I sleep all the time. I think I sleep way too much. But for someone who doesn't get any sleep at all, catching up on some sleep a little bit, even
Yeah.
a nap, a power nap, can be rejuvenating for some
Yeah.
people. And
Well, and
for,
I think it might change over the course of your, like where you are. Because
exactly.
there are times in my life where it was really hard for me to get out of bed and take a shower. Like that took,
Exactly.
like it took hours for me to be like, get out of bed, Christina, and take a fucking shower. It's so easy. Just
Yeah.
do it, And like also don't talk to yourselves that way. But that is how I talk to myself. But
Yeah.
and now for me, I'm like, ooh, like shower, what a treat. And I enjoy, like, if I can fit in multiple showers a day, I'm like, ha ha ha, like what a luxurious life I lead. So like, but that in previous part of my life was like so hard and like an awful punishment thing that I would do to myself.
Yeah.
So it can, like, whatever it is that you're doing can change over the course of your journey. And like, I think it's a helpful exercise to take some time to write down some things that are self care for you, so
Yeah.
that you can use them to treat yourself the right
Treat
way,
yourself.
the right way, to kind of stave off some of that burnout. And I think it's like, for me, I will never, in the current iteration of the way my life is set up, never be able to take like just an entire, like a casual mental health day. You know what I mean? Like some people have jobs that they can take time, take it as a sick day or whatever, or take a day paid or unpaid. But for me, that doesn't usually work out. It's not completely impossible, but it would take a bunch of planning. So like that's not really an option for me right now. But planning smaller instances of self care really is. And there's lots of discussion too about how you can think about self care and look at self care through the lens of privilege, because some
Yeah.
people obviously with their work setup or their financial background, or maybe they are caring for a sick loved one or an older parent or younger siblings or something like that. Different people have kind of different levels of access to self-care and to time and stuff like that. But hopefully, and obviously, like, my self-care can't be like buy a $500 face oil from, you know what I mean? But I could maybe buy like a $8 like nail polish or whatever, and like be like, painting nails is my self-care. It's not right now, but like for an example.
Yeah. I mean,
So
everyone is
if you can
different, I
find
think.
something, that fits in, then that's good. But I just also think it's important that we point out the lens of like, some people have more or easier or different types of access to this
For sure.
than we do. But that being said, I did you want to list a couple of things that have been self care for you recently?
Sure, yeah, I think we can both do that. I think of like of things what we consider self care. Like I pointed out, and like Christina aptly pointed out, like yeah, it's gonna be different for everybody. Like I just pointed out right now, if I placed any type of sleep in my self care schedule, it would be a detriment to myself because I think I sleep way too much, and I need to break that. But I haven't decided to do that yet. So, but amounts of self care for me, I find. One of the things that I haven't done very often, but I have been trying to get back into because Christina actually recommended that I probably should just force myself to do it. But I think cooking as self care for me. I think, and not just like, oh, I gotta throw something together. No, it's planning a meal. And one of the things I really enjoy is kind of like the French style of like, oh, the day of, go to the place you're gonna buy your cooking and everything, all your ingredients, right? Walk through the aisles, take a walk, grab what you're gonna grab, inspect the stuff. Take it at a pace, right? Slow pace. Find the stuff that really looks appetizing. What it created in your mind. Come back, slowly like get everything together and put it, and set it up. It's a slow process, not the fast. Oh, I gotta throw something together for tonight. What do I got in the fridge? I guess I'll throw this together. This looks good, which I do way too often. But
Yeah, and that can be stressful.
yeah. But I enjoy the walking around in a supermarket or a marketplace and like looking at the ingredients, coming up with what I want and figuring it out. It's like, ooh, this sounds good. Oh, this sounds good. Okay, I'll throw this together, and I have all my stuff. Cool, But like, take it at pace. Maybe listen to the music along the way, and kind of just like, that's a self care day right there, where it's like, oh, that's a thing where I want to dedicate, a good chunk of my entire night or day or whatever I'm going to do to figure out what I'm going to be doing, slowly making it and making it right, and sitting down and enjoying that I was able to do that. And so that's one of my things. What about you?
That sounds nice. I just had one question. So you called it the French style?
I don't.
Is that
I,
no? I was
I
gonna
don't know
ask.
if it's exactly the French style, but I know that like in France, one of the ways that they don't shove all the stuff in a fridge. Like
And then
one of the,
yeah,
one of the things that they do
sure.
is they every day they go to the market and grab up what they're going to grab for that day.
Yeah.
They do not plan meals ahead of time. We don't have like a spaghetti day, so we have jars and stuff like that. No, it's all fresh. Head to the market, grab your stuff together, and that's what you're cooking for this day. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just trying to figure out if it was a term that I didn't know. You know what I mean?
don't
Like,
know.
oh, in
I'm
the
sorry.
French style. No,
I just like the French do, my dear.
as the French do. Um, yeah, that well, I was at the grocery store yesterday,
Mhm.
and I went alone, which I don't usually go alone. I usually go with my partner, and so I went alone, and I just got a basket rather than a cart. And then the basket was like super, because I meant to only get a couple things for the meal that we were making that night, but then there was like some stuff on sale, and then I was like, oh, I want coffee, and then before I knew it, the basket was so heavy that it really hurt to carry it.
Yeah.
But that's like a super normal experience. That was a super normal experience for me living in New York, where you don't really have carts because that's not going to fit.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't have large
yeah,
room.
yeah,
enough
except
room
for
them
like
all.
the one time every couple of months that you like really go to Trader Joe's and fill up on like some freezer
Yeah.
stuff or whatever, you wouldn't really use a cart at all. And then when I left a basket in there, and I didn't put my stuff in a cart, even though it had already proven to be super heavy. And I just carried it out. And like people were looking at me weird because I obviously had too many bags and I was struggling with them. But like to me, that was like normal. I guess I failed to adjust to like, okay, you live in the suburbs now, you have a car, you can use carts and all of that stuff. So I was like, why are they looking at me weird? And then I was like, it's because you were not supposed to like, try to carry all these bags or whatever. In some
look
so
like
I didn't know if that was really called the French style or not. And I was like, oh, this pertains to my life, and I need to learn it if it's a phrase that exists.
I don't know if it's French style, if that's what it's called.
I'm gonna call
but
it
I
that
know
now.
that's something that in France
In the
that's something they
French.
do, where it's a lot of European countries they don't shove everything and buy it all at once.
Yeah.
They go every single day and like
Well, I think that's
split it
also,
up.
but I think it's maybe also a city thing because you have more access to like, because you can't carry that much,
Yeah.
like if you get a bunch of bags, you are carrying those bags home
That's
on the
why any
train.
French painting or picture you always see a dude on a bike and it's like produce in his basket
Yeah.
because there will always be produce someone is carrying because they go to the market that day.
And a single baguette.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think it's also like especially a city thing. Whereas if you live in a place with cars, you can load up a little bit more, but also you might live further away from the grocery
yeah,
store
that
if
too.
you don't live in like a food desert in the city. Because like when I was living in New York, you would pass probably like 10 grocery stores on your way home, and so like you can be like, oops, I forgot something, gonna go to the next grocery store, rather than being like, I better get everything for this week at this grocery store now because otherwise I'm going to be headed back out, but in my car for the next 30 minutes to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And I guess it's only like 10 or 15 minutes, but that's still a long time.
Yeah. Also heard that it saves money somehow. Like where you go every day and you just buy what you need just
I think
for
it's
that
because
meal.
you create less waste. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, because theoretically, if you're buying ahead of time and
You're
you buy a
buying in
bunch of
bulk.
frozen stuff and in bulk, you would theoretically save money. But when I try to do that, I end up wasting food.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's probably that. Also, because I'm not good at making myself eat at appropriate times of day.
Yeah. That's one of the things with me as well. So
Be like, oh no, it's night and I only had one meal before.
yeah,
If
your shopping basket story reminded me I imagined it when you were describing it. I imagined like an infomercial for shopping carts. It was like, there's gotta be a better way. You're just like having all this stuff in your
Is
basket.
your shopping basket always falling on the ground and breaking because
Well, here's
it
the
was
brand
too
new shopping
heavy?
cart.
It's like a basket on wheels. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's why I inquired about the French style. But
French style.
for me, my main self-care recently has been running. So
Oh,
I was
yes.
never a person that liked running before. I really hated it. I like we never really had I had to run like a mile during like the presidential fitness test and stuff like that. And there were a couple times in my life before when I tried to get into running. I did end up walking like a half marathon when I lived in Florence. And that was fun, but as far as like running on your own as like a training thing or just like as a cardio thing, really always hated it. And then I found out that a 5K, this is going to betray that I am maybe stupid at math. But I have a math minor and yet did the math backwards on the concept of a 5K. And I was thinking, what's a 5K? That's like 10 miles. That's really long. And then I was like, no, that's kind of backwards. It's 3.1 miles. So when I discovered how few miles it was, I was like, oh, a person like me could do that. That's
Okay.
fine. And so I signed up for one that ended up being one that a couple of my other friends are doing too. So now we're doing it as a team.
Okay.
But I've been training for that, and it has become something that I probably have now an unhealthy obsession with. So, as I'm sure you guys are learning, I cannot do anything in moderation. It's just all or nothing. And so I can't stop thinking about running now, like all the time, every day. I'm like, I wonder when I'll get to run next. And you can't run every day for training because you're just going to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
And you're just going to end up hurting yourself. And so you're supposed to take rest days and like, I have to maintain other types of exercise and whatever. But, I am super like in my brain, it has gone from like it is still self-care, but it's also now like bordering on like, oh no, why does that person think about running so much?
Okay.
But it as far as like when I'm running, I listen to like chill music and kind of just like zone out, and I run in my neighborhood so that it's a familiar territory. I still get lost sometimes, but it's relatively familiar territory and stuff like that. And we don't have like a ton of cars in the neighborhood because it's kind of a subdivision. So it's like a place that feels safe and familiar, and music that I enjoy listening to, and I can kind of zone out. And for me, with anxiety and OCD and other stuff like that, it feels like my thoughts are always running too quickly. And so running or doing any kind of exercise like that where your body has to focus on doing something, but then it kind of tires your brain out too, is really nice for me, because then I'm not obsessing over or having as many intrusive thoughts, because I've got like a physical activity going and then I've got music going.
Yeah.
So there's only room for like me to think about one other thing. Whereas normally I have like three things that I'm thinking simultaneously, and like two of them are stressful. So that's been a good self care for me. And then also I get really, like, running makes me super hungry, which I'm enjoying because I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I struggle with like eating enough meals and stuff a day just because of like I'm not restricting, but it's just that I'm like, oh, I'm busy working. I don't have time for eating. And so this has been nice because it makes me so hungry I can't ignore eating.
Oh, good.
And so I've been eating more, which is also good. And when you eat when you're really hungry, that feels better for me with my history of an eating disorder, because there's like zero, like I don't feel bad at all for eating what I'm eating. I'm like, oh man, I like literally have to eat this much because like I need to get back all my calories. And I'm not actually counting calories, but like in my brain I'm like, oh, I need to get this stuff back anyway. So there's zero reason to feel bad. And so it's just all around been a very positive experience for me, where I'm like, cool, like it's cool, I'm hungry, like I'm doing a physical activity, it's quieting my anxiety, um, and all that stuff.
Well,
So
that's good. That's good. I mean, that's
weirdly, I've turned one of my old depression foods, which is baby carrots wrapped in pepperoni, now
Oh.
into a post running food, which has been great.
Good. Look at that.
Yeah, the salty and the sweet.
The salty and the sweet. That's one we did not get to talk about for depression foods.
Yeah.
I did not hear about that. So
Yeah,
you would wrap baby carrots in pepperoni.
Yeah, or deli turkey.
Oh.
So I that used to be like, because it's so easy, it's a good depression food because you put zero work into it other than ensuring that you have both of those things. But that was like that was probably one of my most nutritious depression foods, honestly.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
if you
it sounds
yeah,
nutritious.
like if you think about that, that is surprisingly nutritious compared to like just eating popcorn or like sandwiches, but they're really small, or like just eating snow a bunch was one of mine.
No.
So that was probably my most nutritious depression food, and it has now been twisted into a post-running food.
Oh, good.
But that's been a good method of self-care for me recently. I just have to make sure I don't overdo it, and that's the hard part for me, is making sure that I don't like, it's okay for me to be thinking about it all the time, but it's not okay for me to like exhaust my body over it or like lose a bunch of weight over it and stuff like that. So I do have to kind of keep a lid, tamp myself down. I don't know, some phrase about that, and make sure I don't get too me about it. But other than that, it's been really positive. So
That's good.
like that, and it's good. It's good because it involves me working towards something, which I love to do. You know, like always like trying to accomplish blah blah blah. But it's not something I can accomplish instantly, and so that's also good for me. Where like I have to work for it, but it's about a month out now. But it's also far enough in advance that I'm kind of just doing it as like a habit, instead of doing the thing that I am really that I'm usually after, which is something that I can finish so fast that I can check it off and then my OCD is happy. But like, maybe we shouldn't spend our whole lives just listening to our OCD.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
That would be a
really
big
good
one
one,
for me.
especially it's a new one. So that's the thing. You know, I mean, of course, we've talked about like some past self-care things that like we've done. You know, I think one of my big ones used to be movies a lot, where I just flip my brain off, not think
Yeah.
about something, and just go into something that you know, lose myself in whatever I'm looking at. You know, I fell out of that for a little while, which was really weird. I wanted to get back to like viewing more movies, and recently I actually have been going back into it. You know, I've watching a lot more stuff, trying to like get out of like just I don't know, staring at the wall. I don't know,
That's
but
good.
yeah,
Do
and
you
just
like watching at home or going to a theater or both?
so the thing is, I've talked about it before. I love the theater. You know, I love going to a theater. I love
Oh, the
sitting in the
theater.
theater. I love the French style where I go to a theater and watch my
Le
film.
théâtre.
I go there and I just get my big tub of popcorn, and it's the French style. So yeah, I like going to the movie theater. I love the experience there. I love sitting in a theater. I love watching it on a huge screen, and just I feel like I can turn my brain off more when I watch a large movie theater screen. I feel like I like, oh, I paid for this. I'm sitting in it. It's
Yeah.
pitch black.
Yeah. You can't
I can't not
Yeah, you
pay attention to
can't
anything
like
else.
get up and then get distracted by something or whip out your phone and then start
Yeah.
scrolling.
Yeah,
You know?
it's kind of an environment that forces me to not pay attention to anything else.
Yeah.
And so recently I've gone a lot more than I have, and I feel like I kind of need to get back to that because I loved it. I love the theater, and
Yeah.
I'm going there again, and it feels like I just enjoy what I'm looking at and just shut off everything. Because if I do it at home, which I do enjoy, I enjoy binging every now and then, but I feel like I'm still distracted by everything as things go
Yeah.
on. I'm looking at my phone, I'm doing whatever, I'm running around and pausing it a bunch of times. But when I'm watching in a theater, for some reason, it just turns my brain off.
Yeah. No, I completely agree and I share that feeling. I think we've talked about that before outside of
Yeah.
the podcast, but that's definitely something that helps me as well because of all the time I'm trying to optimize like my time, which is obviously unhealthy, as I'm sure you can expect. Like everything that I'm doing, even when I'm doing a work task, I'm like, is this the perfect thing to be doing right now? Or should I be doing something else? Would that be more efficient? And I'm too into the concepts of optimization and efficiency to the point where it becomes detrimental and I'm really just doing the opposite of that because I'm then distracted by thinking about rather than just doing a task, getting it done, it's good but like it's not perfect. I'll be like, should I be doing that? And then I'll switch tasks and stuff like that. So I too like the movies because you just have to do that thing. And I'll even do that with my free time too, where like when I get home, I'm like, oh, I really feel like playing a video game, but shouldn't I start the laundry
Yeah.
first? Because then
Yeah.
it'll be running while I'm playing a video game. And it's like, yeah, man, I don't know. Like, that's probably true, but like, do you have to live your whole life like that? No. Why are you doing this to me?
I love that, like the word. I love the two Chris's in that conversation. You did the yeah, man, but I mean, and the other Chris is like, but you shouldn't. You do it this way. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. It's self care is important, I think, for all of us, and it's important to find what really is self care for you. Like what is it that you feel like that it's going to get you out of the mode of what you're in right now, where you're constantly going through something, going through the motions, and burning yourself out on what you're doing, or I work is work. Everyone has their 40 hours or whatever, or for you all day, every day, but every now and then there is a little bit of time, and whatever amount it is, you can find something, whether it's 5 minutes or 5 hours. It's something to find something what fits for you, what's going to pull you out for the second, and just kind of, you know, almost give you your second wind. I mean, that's a little running term right there. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I haven't learned about it yet. So I'll get there though. I have a couple weeks.
Yes. Have you gotten the endorphins rush yet?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I live for the runner's high.
The runner's high.
Um,
The French style, as they
yeah,
call
the
it.
French style. Yeah, I think that I guess for me and with running, the issue that I come up against, and it's the same thing with movies, is that those are only things that can be done at certain times, and they require at least a little bit of planning or like more time afterwards. Like if I'm running, like I'm gonna get sweaty as all hell, and then I'm gonna want to take a shower, and then I'm gonna have to get dressed again, and so if I don't have it, like today, I was really upset earlier today because I wanted to go for a run in the morning, and then a bunch of work stuff came up and I didn't get to go, and I was really upset. And so it's helpful if you can find a couple of things that are shorter, and a couple of things that are longer to kind of fill whatever amount of time that you're going to have. So that it's not just like an all or nothing situation where I'm like, if I can't run, then I'm getting zero self care today.
Yeah. Yeah. I hate to be coming. I'm a cheap person, right? And I like to keep coming back to the same jokes over and again. But I mean, like, this is not a joke, right? So coming back to the French style thing, it's not a joke. But I believe in Europe. One of the things I broke Chris. No,
Oh
no, to
boy,
come back to
I'm so
this.
sorry.
No, to come back to this. Um, one of the things that I really enjoyed about like the way their work structure is over there is that they force their employees to have to enjoy their things that they get, right? Where when you go on for lunch or something like that, like you go for lunch, they give you that a certain amount of time, right? And it's like whatever you're going for, you're coming back or something like that. I forget exactly the exact layout, but they force you to enjoy your vacations. They force like when you go on vacation, when they tell you it's like you have this time off, right? This is when you're going. Go out, enjoy it. They're forcing you out. Like they want you to go and enjoy it. Like it's something that's like it's a weird structure where it's like it's kind of the exact opposite here where we're constantly forced to like
Yeah,
oh
you're
results
given a
get
lunch
it
break, but you're actually
you
supposed to
shouldn't be
work
going to lunch.
during
How about you
it.
work through lunch or something like that?
Yeah.
Over there, it's when you go for a coffee break or you go for a smoke break or something like that, they give you the time for it. They want you to go for it, go drink it, And like even when you have like when you go for coffee houses over there are different from here where they shove fast coffee in your face. Over there, it's like no, it's a slow. It's everything, and it's enjoying it. It's sipping it in small cups, and it's different over there where it's again the French style. I don't know, but
Style.
yeah, for it's
I think
it's an
there is
idea
genuinely a different,
culture over
obviously,
there. And it's a different culture
it's going to be
altogether.
different at different companies and different for different people. But in general, there are different types of laws
Yeah.
regarding the number of hours you can work and sort of culturally different expectations about whether you are on or on call or available when you're even away from your desk
Yeah.
in America versus in Europe and stuff. But that's kind of why I struggled at first living in Florence because there was so much sitting around.
Yeah, and it's
Like
it's weird.
like the buses are late and everybody's late, but it's like fine because you're just sitting there drinking espresso. Like I had so
so
much
chill.
espresso. But you just drink espresso forever calmly while you wait for someone to show up for meetings and stuff.
That's the point. The point
And
is to enjoy.
my brain is so like, don't do that, be doing this, be doing that.
Yeah.
That was a big adjustment for me for the short time that I was there. It was just like, you know, you're just going to sit here. Because I was just studying abroad, I didn't have like the same access to smartphones as I do now. Like I had like what we would now call a burner phone just for like texting and calling. And so it's not like while you're sitting there, like if you live in Europe, then you're going to have a smartphone that works there. But I didn't because I was just like, temporarily get anything that works on GSM and that's fine. And so there was just a lot of sitting and conversation and it forces you to slow down and calm down.
Yeah.
But
that's a weird thing where it's almost like did they do that because they want all of everybody to have self-care? That's a small self-care thing, but I mean that's something that's an idea. That's no matter what, like whether you're busy all day, and every day, you have a small amount of time. Try and find something that'll fit your schedule. Something that's gonna just take you out of it for a little bit and just reacclimate yourself, readjust. If it's zipping an espresso for 15 minutes while you throw on some relaxing music and just space out for 15 minutes while you're sipping on its espresso, that's all you can do. That is something that can do wonders if you didn't do that at all, right? And that's the same thing as like for you today, you're pissed off because you couldn't go running, and that pissed offness is gonna go with you for a little while. But like if you did go, it would do wonders for you, right?
Yeah.
Because you know what it does for you, you know how it feels for you, And for me, if I had gone through today and just like totally not like planned it out, just went grabbed up some produce, grabbed up some stuff, and just like slowly went through an idea of what a meal and creating that all together and enjoying that. That'd be totally unique for me, and that'd be something would do wonders for me. But you know,
Yes.
it's
I
different for
used to
everybody.
do guided meditations on YouTube. That's free. So that's a good thing to do if you're trying to self care on a budget.
Yeah,
A thing that we
there
shouldn't
you go.
have to do, but whatever. And I used to be into, I mentioned the nail polish thing because that used to be one of mine, is it used to be calming to like paint my nails because I like colors.
Yeah,
um, so that used to be really calming to me, or going on a walk with my dogs when I lived with them. Um, Even now for me, like doing the crossword is a good one for me. So that's something that I can do if I only have a couple of minutes. But it's mostly stuff. I think looking at the stuff that is self care for me, it's like whatever it is that forces my brain to kind of like slow down a couple notches. So maybe looking at like what mechanism is it in your brain that's stressful to you that you need to kind of calm down, and then try to target that specific thing with your
hmm
self care options. You know, if you're a person who, because a lot of people with their anxiety, they'll get physically very tense. So then maybe your self care is stuff like massages or hot baths or yoga or something that physically forces your body to kind of relax and calm down.
yeah.
Um,
I'll literally just take a hot shower for until the water runs out. So it's like I have no more hot water. Time to
yeah.
get out. You know.
So yeah,
But I
if
think
you kind
baths
of
are
think,
gross. So ugh, you know, baths are gross.
what's wrong with baths?
Baths are gross.
People bathed for hundreds of years before showers became a
That's
thing.
true, but I think sitting in your bath is gross
I
because you're
guess like,
just
well,
stewing in a soup of you.
I guess if you, I guess I don't, because I used to be super into baths when during the Great Depression, because it seemed more accessible to me than showers. And also just sometimes I would do it like, because when you're in the bath, again, you're forced to be a place.
Mhm.
And so you can't try to optimize that time because you're already like in a bath, you know, and you can't just casually like getting out of a bath is a decision that you have to make, but you don't just casually get out of a bath and start doing dishes or whatever, you know.
Mhm.
So it was like a place that I had to be, and I would sometimes video chat with one of my friends who like knew what I was going through, or watch like an episode of TV or something like that. And uh but I guess it wasn't specifically as like a cleaning mechanism. And they
Yeah,
take
that's
a lot
true.
of time, so it's hard to do that every day
Yeah,
because of the filling of the bath and then whatever thing you put in the bath, like a bath bomb or,
aromatics stuff like
you
that.
know,
I understand. You know.
candles and all that stuff. But I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm hamming it up a little bit, but no, I haven't taken a bath in a long time. I've gone in the hot tubs before or something like that.
Was it nice?
That's nice. Yeah, I guess
So
that's
I
the same
think
thing.
I think you would like a bath. It's just that you don't want to do baths as cleaning. But like I
Sure.
think if you got like a nice nice bath bomb from Lush, you know, and you had already taken a shower that day, and then you turn the lights down, you might have a grand old time.
Yeah, watch it. All of a
Listen to
sudden, I'm
some
just like
nice
addicted to
music.
it. I can't
Yeah.
stop baths.
Yeah, I feel like
No.
we'll check back in a couple of months with Jelani, who will have tried a bath. I know I think baths are better in winter though. I don't know if because in the summer when you get out, you're gonna be hot again in a second, so maybe that's not great timing. We'll check in with Jelani
If I
next winter.
could, one of the things I find most relaxing is just finding a pool, right? But I wish it was just my own pool. You know, it was like no one else in it, so I could just float in the pool and
So
just
they
drift.
have that.
You
They
know,
have places where you can go and float and be weightless.
isolation tanks and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right? Like there are that, but I want like the pool.
but maybe you should try one of those.
Maybe.
That's a good self care. I don't know how much money they cost, but that could be a good self care. And that's another situation where you can't get out, so it's nice because like you have to be chill. Although it seems also potentially hellish to be stuck with your own thoughts like that.
That's true.
I'm not sure, but I mean, you can like knock and get out of the thing. So I don't know. Maybe try that. Maybe try that. Maybe try a bath next winter.
Maybe.
Then we'll check back in, and he'll be like just loaded up with like I open the closet door, and like all these bath bombs just fall out onto me, and I'm just like, Jelani, I think you have a problem, and you're like, I'm bankrupt. I spent it all on bath bombs.
I can't stop. I found out it's a French style, and I have to do it. Oh yeah, there are self-care is very important out there, guys. If you avoid it, if you try to not do it, or if you stave it off too long, you can end up hitting a wall. You can end up burning yourself out too hard, and it takes a lot to recover from a complete burnout. And you don't want to spend. I mean, small, tiny little self-care moments
buy some
throughout
plants.
the time. I need a plant in my house somewhere.
Yeah, buy some plants, spend time with pets.
Yeah.
Listen to an ASMR video.
Take a walk.
Yeah, take a walk. Go outside, fresh air.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways. What's going to fit your life? What can you do? And what is relaxing to you? What's going to take you out of it? So that's the key thing. Self-care is important, guys. That's huge.
Weird one of mine is that I will go on Instagram and make a lot of, like, when I feel sad, sometimes I'll go on Instagram and just comment a lot of complimentary emojis or words to people that I like. To specifically women, usually that makes me feel better, or maybe all my Instagram friends are women that are just like gassing them up, like that always makes me feel better, is like just giving compliments out a bunch, and they're genuine compliments, but like it also just makes me feel like I'm happy because I'm like, I hope they read this and they're happy, you know what I mean?
So if I ever see you just do a mass like compliment,
yes, it means I'm sad.
Oh no.
But it's actually just because I'm like, oh, you know what would be like a net positive in the world if I just like threw a bunch of compliments out there.
Yeah. Interesting. The things I learn. Now I'm gonna be. Anytime I see a comment from you, it's like, is that positive?
And then he's gonna text me like, "Are you okay?"
Let me scroll through, like, see if she's commented on anything else. Oh no.
Yeah, I'll be like, "Your art is great. Keep it up." Or like, heart eyes. And I'll get a text from Jelani that's like, "Are you sure you're okay?
Are you okay?
In a bad place?"
No. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a good topic. That's a good one right there. I enjoy that one. That one's one that, even though we made it a main topic for this episode, it's one that we constantly can come back to, because there's always new ways that we find ourselves in self-care. Like right now, the running thing was not a self-care thing that was in your thing.
Oh yeah, that was something I never thought that I would enjoy doing or would even be able to physically do.
Yeah, the cooking thing was, I was burnt out for quite some time on it, and like that's the thing that's been recently, just.
But there's. Yeah, well, like you were saying, there was a bunch of time in your life where it made, like, especially if you have come out of not being able to do that thing as a depressive episode, or if you like have negative memories associated with it, it can become a thing that like is punishing or seems prohibitive, like if you're like, oh, well, for me, it was like, oh, well, I'm not good at being physically active, so I'm not going to be good at running. And it's like running is hard, and so it'll just be a thing that I'll do bad at. So, like, that was a bad option for me earlier in my life, but it's a great option for me now. Or, like, painting nails right now would just be stressful because of perfectionism. But at a time in my life, it was like a nice time where I had to calm down and not use my hands. And for you, I think there was a time where it was fair that you were kind of struggling with enjoying cooking.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that it's working for you now and that things are going good. So if you guys would like to share any of your self-care methods or hilarious disasters where you tried to do something as self-care and then you discovered it was really stressful, we would love to hear from you. You can find us on Twitter, send us a Facebook message, or Instagram us at Yikesland_podcast. I think that's where we send out the most things. You can also email us if you want to go old school at yikesland@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah. thought you were gonna go more.
I was
No,
waiting for him
no.
to talk.
Yeah, I mean, we enjoy you guys being here, and we enjoy you guys supporting the podcast. We apologize sometimes that everything can get kind of hectic with us with schedulings, but we will always try to keep up with you as much as possible with any updates and things that are going on with the show. But hopefully, everything is we'll get everything all scheduled out and everything like that. But most importantly for you guys out there, if you guys are ever on the edge of everything, or if things become too much for you, we don't ever want you to not be here with us. And one of the great things that you guys can utilize to help you is if you're feeling like everything's getting to be too much and you're thinking of crossing a line. That we don't want you to cross. You guys can contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That's 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. It's free. It's confidential. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We don't want you to not make it to a Tuesday. From to this Tuesday to next Tuesday to whenever, we want you here with us all the time, not just to watch this show, but just to be in the world with us, because we want you guys being here with us. We want you guys doing positive things here with us, because without you, the views from Yikesland would be a lot darker. We want you to be here with us. So this has been your host, Jelani Hoon, along with host
Chris Fung, thanks for being here with us, guys. Reach out to us. Do a self-care for yourself if you're listening. Mm-hmm. It's like that meme, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you should do a self-care for yourself. And thank you for being here. We will see you next time.